parents are responsible for a child's health and well-being, including protecting you and the children from vaccine and preventable diseases. Now, childhood vaccines prevent diseases that can be serious and deadly. In the 2010 Constitution of Kenya, the Children Act, Chapter 141, says that parents have the responsibility to provide medical care, including immunization to their children. Now, we have guests tonight to talk about immunization and vaccination. I welcome you to go ahead and text us. I'm sure you have so many questions on this topic. 22232 is how to get to us. You can comment if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. I will be checking that out. My name is Kerry Kagiri. This is Health Check. Health Check is only on Hope TV, and recently the award-winning station, courtesy of the Kuza Awards. You voted, they had. We got a couple of great awards, so thank you so much. I'd like to introduce our guests right now who are specialists in the field. One of them, I've actually talked to her on radio, but we've not met in person. So when I heard her voice, I was like, We did a radio interview sometime on Hope FM. I'm talking about Lillian Mutua. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
She is the head health promotions, NMS. Could you tell us a little bit about your job? And this, I have seen people walking around with this. Tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Like you have heard, I'm a health promotion coordinator for Nairobi County. I head the health promotion department for NMS. And my work entirely entails educating people health matters, advocating for health literacy. That is at individual level, household level, community level, organized groups. And mostly I like working with the youth because, as we are always told, the youth is the future of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So if they get it right today, we will have a healthy future.
I love that. Awesome. And thank you so much for making time to be here. I know you could be doing so many things, but you chose to come. Thank you. We don't take it for granted. And of course, we have our resident pediatrician in the building, Dr. John Wachira. Welcome again.
Thank you.
And for someone who's watching for the first time and they don't even understand pediatrician, please explain what you do. Why are you laughing? Get that.
Pediatrician is just a doctor who takes care of children.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a childish doctor.
No.
It's a children's doctor.
Oh, wow. Not a childish doctor, but a children's doctor. But he is quite hilarious. As we talk about that, today it's all about immunization and vaccination in children. Could we start by explaining these terminologies? I could give all of you just an opportunity to explain. And you know what? You can pick up from each other. It's fine. Immunization. Let me start with you, Lillian, because you know, your people are always everywhere, you know, coming to people's okay, maybe that's not how they ask. I don't know what they do. But you could tell us, what is immunization?
So when we are saying that we are doing any immunization, we are introducing a vaccine into the body of a child. It could also be an adult, depending on what this vaccine is. And this helps to build some immunity in the body so that you are able to prevent or to fight certain diseases that are preventable. Like we do that for the very young children at birth, where they get the polio vaccine and the BCG.
Okay.
Because we know as soon as one is born, you don't have immunity for some of these diseases. So your body has to be triggered to start responding to the vaccine that has been given. Some of it has what we say the live attenuated antibodies, so that when you are vaccinated, or antigens, so that when it's put into your body, the body now starts producing the antibodies, thus fighting a disease that may occur.
That's quite interesting. Okay, that's a very clear definition. Vaccination. What is vaccination?
I think the term vaccination and immunization are used generally to mean the same thing.
Okay.
In a science class, vaccination is introducing vaccine. Immunization is provoking immunity. But generally, as my colleague has said, it's just the act of giving vaccine. What's a vaccine? A vaccine is either a whole pathogen or a weakened pathogen or inactivated or a particle of the same pathogen, that's a germs, or a particle from the same that would make the body produce immunity against certain disease. As you said at the beginning, these are deadly and dangerous diseases that we are talking about. And currently we have more than 26 vaccines available worldwide. That is, the most recent one is what everyone knows, the COVID vaccines. But the first one was like the smallpox in 1700s, when the first people got it, and, to protect against smallpox. And vaccines, or the art of vaccination, immunization, is as old as is older than all of us now.
Wow.
And it started in 17, and something has been going on, and it has changed the history of diseases and the survival of mankind in here.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking, when we talk about children, they were so safe in the mommy's tummy, and they're coming to meet all these things in the world, including the COVID virus. It's so tiny, you can't even see it. So that's the importance. But let's highlight, because I know there's still communities and there are people who don't believe in vaccination. So let's talk about what is the importance of childhood. Immunization. That's the one I'm going to go with. Immunization. What's the importance, and how could you encourage us, Lillian?
What I'd say, we have had health campaigns where we give these vaccines to children of different ages. When it comes to polio, normally we start at age 5.
Yes.
For the measles vaccine, at times we'll start as higher as 15 years.
Yes.
But depending on the risk perceived and the population that we want to target. And this is informed, one, because of data that is collected by our Ministry of Health, and also scenarios of outbreaks within communities. And once this happens, because we have the diseases that we call notifiable diseases. So right now we had a case of a child who was unwell and who could no longer stand or walk. And this child had not had any accident, no trauma, no illness, but suddenly the boy could not walk. And that was at Dadaab refugee camp.
Oh.
So when the doctors took the child in for examination and investigations were done, they found that the boy had the polio virus type 2.
Oh, no.
These notifiable diseases are many among the ones that we can have in Kenya. Like Dr. said, we have smallpox, which was already eradicated. We have things like the yellow fever.
Measles.
We have measles,
That was
which
painful.
occurs.
Ouch. I still remember.
But
When I was 14.
okay. And I also got the smallpox jab. That was in the 70s.
Wow.
And it was very painful. And I remember our parents running around to get us to get the jab.
Wow.
So it's not something that has started now. And when this is done, we are protecting our children of a certain age, because there's a possible risk with evidence that has occurred. So when we run these campaigns, it's not out of the blues. There's evidence information that is given. You'd find if we get a baby who is having measles, we will also investigate the children around that baby, in the family, in the neighborhood. If it is a school-going child, we will even go to the school. If the baby is, if the child is of a Christian background, and we are told the child maybe it's on a Monday and on Sunday the child was in Sunday school, we'll probe further.
Wow.
If the child goes
So
to
contact
school,
tracing was there
yes,
even before.
It has been there. So whatever we are doing during a campaign is informed. It's an informed decision. And it would be very, very sad at this 21st century for your baby to get a complication out of a disease that you can get a vaccine and get prevented. For example, if a child got measles and they lost their hearing ability or became blind, what will we explain to this child? Because the vaccines available for the government, they are for free, and the time is there. And when we also look at the Kenyan Constitution, it protects the child to have quality health services.
Absolutely.
And when we look at the child's rights, it also advocates for the parent, the guardian, or the caregiver to give maximum support for this child to enjoy the health benefits.
Absolutely, and that's very important. Dr. I'd love you to chime in as well on this, but your question is more, what vaccinations are recommended for newborns from 0 to 18 months and the diseases that they prevent? But you can also chime in on the importance of childhood immunization.
0 to 18. Before I got that, I just want to just love what she has said,
Sure.
and one and one
Go ahead,
more
sir.
point that there is a benefit to the individual. Once you get the measles vaccine, you are protected against the measles vaccine. There is a benefit to your neighbor. Once we all get the measles vaccine, then the risk of us getting the vaccine as a country is lower. There is a benefit to the nation because you take any disease when you have got anyone suffering from that, then it's a huge cost to treat that person and to sustain their life, and then so you save on the economy.
Absolutely.
And then of course even worldwide, you talked about yellow fever. When you move from one country to another one, and when you are vaccinated, you are protecting other nations as well. So there are those benefits. So you asked about vaccines given from 0
to 18 years.
To 18
yeah,
years.
And what diseases that they prevent?
There are about 26 vaccines available worldwide that are given at different ages in life. They are given. Some of them are only given in specific places, like the one you talked about, the yellow fever, and some of them. There are some that were put together in a program called Expired Program Immunization, which is supported worldwide now, in third world countries by different international organizations to make it available to as many children as possible. So the ones that are in that package, you have got at 0, you have got the BCG, and you have got the polio. And increasingly, you have the hepatitis B, depending on which country one is in. So you have got that given at birth. And the polio at birth is by mouth, and BCG is what all Kenyans have a scar on that.
Yeah.
So polio protects against polio. BCG protects against TB, tuberculosis. And of course, hepatitis will protect against hepatitis. That is at 0. Then in Kenya, and I know we have relatives in diaspora. In Kenya and Commonwealth, we give the second vaccine at 6 weeks.
Okay.
The Americans will give that at 2 months. So at 6 weeks, then we do now a combination of vaccines. We have got we repeat polio by mouth, we repeat rota. So polio again protects against polio disease. There's a disease that causes paralysis, as Lillian correctly said. I described earlier. Then you have got rotavirus. Rotavirus protects against diarrhea disease, which used to be a big killer before this disease, before the vaccine got in here.
Wow.
Now that has reduced that death. Then the next, those are 2 oral. Then you have 2 injections. One is a combination of the DPT. It's actually 5 of them. So it has the diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, the Hib, and hepatitis B. So that will be a combination of 5 injections in one vial again, and then you have got the pneumococcal vaccine. So again, the combination of 5 is protecting against 5 diseases. By now, most of us have forgotten some of those diseases, how they used to look like, because they are no longer happening. Things like whooping cough. Not many people can actually describe to you, I've seen a whooping cough. Or even the epiglottitis caused by the Hib. Very people have seen that. And even tetanus, okay, it's there, but not as common as it used to be many years before we got this vaccination. So that combination of 5 vaccines protects against that. And then you have the pneumococcal, which is a pneumonia vaccine, which is one of the newer vaccines in the country. Again, pneumonia has been a top killer disease in childhood. And again, that vaccine has markedly reduced the death of children from pneumonia. That is at the second at 6 weeks in our country. Then after that, after 4 weeks after that, we repeat the same vaccines. And then after that, at 14 weeks, we repeat the same vaccines.
Oh.
And
so it's not only COVID that you have to get dose 1, dose 2.
No.
Almost all vaccines.
Most vaccines you have to boost. You have to boost. Yeah. And nowadays even the polio we boost with the injectable polio.
Okay, because the first one is
oral.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a package that all children worldwide should get because it's funded by UNICEF, by government. Let me say by government of the world. They fund that. Then after that you cross over to 6 months. By 6 months, there's a vaccine that is important but not funded. That is a flu vaccine. And then after that you got 9 months. In developing nations, measles is given from 9 months because we are at high risk of getting measles vaccine. In other countries, they'll give it at 1 year. So we have got that measles vaccine. It may be alone or in combination. Can be alone as measles, can be combined with rubella as MR, can be combined with measles, mumps, and rubella as MMR.
Yeah.
So again, the cost varies, and therefore the government will fund different combination. But increasingly, the funding now is to combination of measles with other vaccines. That's around 9 months. Then for most of our expired program immunization, that is where we stop. But then we do a booster of those vaccines at around 18 months. We boost that the measles, and we do booster. I'm not sure whether the 18 months DPT is still funded, but we have got some boosting that goes on after that. But if you look at what CDC, World Health Organization, expands now beyond 1 year. At 1 year, you have got other vaccines that are available, and depending on resource, this is not funded. So, depending on what one has, then you have vaccines like chickenpox, which is given. Again, chickenpox, we all have a lifetime chance of getting.
For chickenpox is you get it.
It is not in the funding. The vaccines are very expensive.
Okay.
So not many government will be able to pay for all of them. So you have got chickenpox at 1 year. You have hepatitis A at 1 year. So those are the two vaccines at 1 year. Then after that you have got we talked about the booster for the measles or rubella or MMR. Then you go on to then you go on now to boosting again hepatitis A again, 6 months from when you gave it, and chickenpox you boost again 3 months after that. Other parts of the world have included meningococcal vaccine. That's probably one of the vaccines that will come over.
That's meningitis.
For meningitis, yes. In the developed nations, they give it together with the 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks. In our settings, we give it after 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah, but it can also be given all the way to 2 years.
Okay.
So those are some of the vaccines that are not in the program, but they're there. Just like the way rotavirus and pneumonia were not in the program, but eventually they came into the program. Then so you go on that way. At around 2 years, you do the boosters again, and so that is now for those vaccines. You have other vaccines like typhoid vaccines given around 2 years. I'm sure those who have kids in school, they may have seen them. And again, the flu vaccines from 6 weeks after, then every year, those at risk or those who are very young or those very old, they also get that. And then between 2 years and 5 years, you boost. You are over to boost to do a booster for the polio and for the tetanus. And if you got other vaccines like the typhoid, you may actually boost them.
Absolutely.
So those are boosters given at that time.
Okay.
The CDC WHO will also encourage boosting of the polio and the tetanus. Almost every 5 years as you go on. So that is the vaccines we have. Then as you go beyond 10 years, you have the human papilloma virus vaccine, HPV, the one for cervical cancer.
Which has just been introduced about 2 years ago, is it?
It has been there for long.
Oh, really?
It has been there.
I just saw like the advertising for like schoolgirls to get it, like.
The awareness keeps on changing.
It was there, but not under our Kenya expanded program for immunization.
Okay.
So you had to pay for it to get it.
Okay.
But currently the government has put it in their schedule so that when a girl turns 10, it's available for them. The cost is by the government.
Wow. And some of the things he's highlighted as well that should probably, are there conversations of getting like a meningococcal, I don't know how to say it.
Meningococcal.
For us, or I don't know, are there any other out of the ones that are not funded that you're having a conversation about introducing maybe?
So normally, like Dr. said, some of these vaccines, not some, all vaccines are expensive.
Yeah.
Even what we get in the government facility for free,
yes,
people think they are for free.
No.
They are not for free.
Someone is paying.
The government and some other global partners put their resources into paying for these vaccines. So depending on the threat of a disease in a country, then there will be continuous conversations. And if it is found fit for that vaccine to be introduced, then it will be given. We also look at the risk for the population. I remember some while ago, we were discussing about the risk populations, some of the risk populations, to start getting the cholera vaccine. Because we had seen the risk, especially in the urban settings. Nairobi has been hit hard, not once, not twice. So we look at our data, we look at the risk, we look at what can be preventable using other strategies, and if they think the best is to go through immunization, then that is taken up.
Absolutely. I love that the people who actually sit down and look at all this. Should a child miss any vaccination, how do they catch up? Because the people are watching this and they're like, maybe this is a sign. I need to get my children vaccinated.
I really like what Dr. has said. Because like when we are doing the polio campaigns, we are boosting a certain, like now we are doing only the polio type 2.
Okay.
Because there is a risk of it being within the community, in the environment. So that is why we are giving this specific one. So even if a child today had received the drops in the clinic, that was against type 1 and type 3.
Okay.
And not against type 2, which has been phased out in most of the countries, apart from largely in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So I really like the sentiments from Daktari that people think because they have gotten other immunizations, when we are doing their campaigns, maybe in our, like now we are doing in the 13 counties, or when we are doing them like, at times we do 22 counties or entirely the whole nation.
Could you just name why the 13 counties and how you've mapped that out?
Like I had said, for the current polio virus type 2, it was isolated in the DAB.
Yes.
That was where we spotted it first. Then when we were doing now the notification was done and every other disease surveillance was on task to do because if today we say maybe a place like Nairobi has, Nairobi and the environs, the disease surveillance team gets into action of sampling through the sewer, through the rivers at the river ends, and through the drainages, so that we can get samples from the environment to know whether the virus is circulating.
Got it.
But if you report a case of paralysis, and we find that you have the virus, also the people around you have to be investigated for the same. So when this is done, we have said it was found in Dadaab, then in Mombasa. So all the counties that surround Garissa have to activate a campaign where the children below 5 are being given these drops.
All right.
Then when we look at Mombasa, we also found the environmental sample. Mombasa and the counties that border it have to be given. So for Mombasa, we know we have the Kwale, we have the Kilifi, we have the Lamu, we have the Machakos and Kitui, which border Mombasa County. So they'll be activated into this. Nairobi is peculiar. Number one, Nairobi is an international transit point. Nairobi hosts more than 1 million people on transit day in, day out.
It's a gateway city.
Who are not even residents of Nairobi.
True.
Because they've come for their economic activities, because they've come for social activities, because they are en route to other parts within other counties and even beyond the borders. So we stand a risk. When we look at the interconnectivity for transport, if it has happened in Garissa or in the northern part of Kenya, the buses come into Nairobi.
Yes.
If it has happened in Mombasa, every day the SGR is bringing people to Nairobi and back to Mombasa.
Yeah.
We also have the Mombasa Road, which also people are coming from Mombasa. We have the Northern Corridor through Thika and Garissa, through Isiolo all the way to Mandera. So we are at risk. So it also calls for Nairobi as a county and the environs, Kiambu and also Machakos and Kajiado to join into the campaign.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that is quite wide. As we talk about this polio immunization, and it's very, very important, how do parents understand the need for such supplementary immunization campaigns? And you will tackle this as well, but Daktari, talk to parents.
You know, polio is dangerous, is deadly, is paralyzing, is debilitating, is too costly for anyone to get when you have a preventive cause.
Yes.
As long as one child has polio, we are not safe as a country.
Wow.
So that's why UNICEF marshals all the support they can get, WHO, the government, they marshal the support to mop up and protect the people around that area. So as Lillian, described, you hear that you are looking at this case was in the DAB, then you move around that area and protect the children who are around there. And again, you move in Nairobi because you only need one case. Remember, polio is passed through stool, urine, poo-poo. So when one baby passes out in the stool, it goes into the water, and then you have a whole mass of so many people exposed. So it's very important that all the people in the named counties, they actually come out for those vaccines so that we protect everyone. Polio is one of these that as long as one child has it, then everyone has.
Absolutely, and everyone is at risk to have it. When we come back after this short break, we'll be looking at the common side effects of immunizations and what to do with adverse effects, as well as just to emphasize it is very important for you to find out how you can catch up. And that's also a question I asked, like when a child actually, and I'd like you to respond to this probably before we go to the break, how can a child catch up? Probably the parent was like, this is my dini yetu haituitikishi ama hii kitu nini mimi hata sikuchanjwa, why is my child chanjo not chanjwa, sikupata chanjo, we don't need this, we don't do this in our family. How can they catch up now that they've changed their mind, now that they're accessing this kind of information? Well, how can they catch up?
The Ministry of Health guidelines are simple. If you get a child who has missed a vaccine, give them that vaccine which they have missed.
Okay.
If they have missed many of them, start from where they stopped.
Yeah.
Except,
so from what age?
Except BCG. All the other vaccines, at any age when you get, if somebody comes in and they're 1 year and they never got measles, give them the measles vaccine.
Okay.
If you catch them at 5 years, give them the measles vaccine. If you get them and they missed polio, give them at whatever age you get them. It's only BCG that has got an age limit because of some technical aspects about it. Mm-hmm. But all the other vaccines, you should give them. If somebody got only 1 dose of the 6 weeks and they missed the 10 weeks and you catch them at 2 years, give them what they missed and then you carry on to complete. It's a very simple program.
So you can just catch up.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. With me in studio on Health Check is Lillian Mutua. She's the head health promotion, NMS, and she's here even in the uniform. So when you see someone in this, they are safe, they are part of a big, beautiful community that just wants to ensure that all our children and the future, which is now, survives and lives a healthy lifestyle and are able to achieve, all the goals that we have as a nation in general. And also Dr. John Washira, our pediatrician, he's our pediatrician. We've owned him. He's ours right here on Health Check. My name is Kerry Kagiri. When we're back after the break, I'll be picking all your questions. So you better send them in now on 22232. We're also going to be picking up your calls. The number is right below the screen. So you can call us live and ask Lillian any question. You can ask Dr. any question. We'll see you shortly.
Join John Cousin every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Cousin every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Our Christian life is not just about God always stepping in when you are in trouble. But sometimes you need to go through the valley of the shadow of death, and God will say, angels, stand away. He must go through that. She must go through that. Because out of this would come something greater and more beautiful.
Every time, every single minute, there's something new to talk about.
The government continues to make sustained investments.
And we want to completely support and thank our healthcare workers.
Crime rate has dropped drastically.
We are intentional to inform you on stories happening far and wide across the globe from places never imagined.
We shape national discussion as we give you all the perspective to enhance, develop, and better our leadership, right from the national leadership to the tiniest point of administration.
Business remains the engine that makes the world go round. At Hope TV Newswatch, we strive to bring you the market trends as we focus on strategies that make you and your business afloat.
We pay attention, we listen, we observe, we feel, we margin, and we report. From cities all the way to the common Mwananchi, we focus on all you need to know.
Here we transverse the countries to bring you the latest in the world of sports, from scores, fixtures, and breaking news as and when it happens across the globe.
For Hope TV Newswatch, now you know.
You're watching Health Check. It's on Hope TV. It's the only station where you look and live. My name is Kerke Giri, and you're about to get into your calls. We need to be talking to you just now on your questions. The conversation today is on immunization and vaccination, and we're specifically in children. But of course, we'll highlight a little bit about the COVID vaccine. How to know that our guests in studios have wamepata chanjo. You guys, you did?
I did.
Both
I'm
doses?
waiting for the second dose. I'm a frontliner.
You're a frontliner, of course you are. And?
Yeah, I got my first dose. You have 12 weeks to the second one.
So, mtapata cocktail?
No. Whatever the government policy says, it's a public health thing, yeah.
Absolutely. And let's talk about that, by the way, just for a second. I know we're digressing, but I'm really curious. And let me first do the introductions for those who have just joined us. The lady in studio is Lillian Mutua. She is a head of promotions at NMS, and thank you so much for being with us. That's the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. I hope I said that correctly without eating my tongue up. And Dr. John Washira, who is a pediatrician. So I'm looking at all the scenarios. Lillian, you probably did AstraZeneca, which was available. And now you might be getting something else. Let me not say what. Are you open to that, or what's a conversation that's going on around it?
I'm open to vaccination. And I'd really encourage not only the frontliners, but anyone who is eligible to get the vaccine. I have a bit of a sad story.
Share, please.
My mom died of COVID.
Yeah, sorry about that.
2 weeks to the launch of the vaccine in Kenya. My mom had hypertension. Not only her, but other family members contracted COVID, we suppose in an event that was a family event.
Oh, no.
And some people landed in the ICU for some days. Apart from my mother, we've lost other relatives. My own two sisters, my younger siblings, also contracted the same but survived.
Praise God.
Of recent, I have a relative who is elderly. She received the vaccine. She was in hospital for about 3-4 days. She's up and around. The beauty of the vaccine.
Absolutely.
It's real.
Thank you.
Get the opportunity, go for it.
Lillian, thank you for talking about that, because we wished you, sent our condolences on air. It was all over the TV, of course, and I'm so happy that you're the one who has said it out, because many people have the stigma around it, and it's very important that you can say that, and I'm so glad God is healing you and more comfort to you.
My younger sister has also gone out, and she talks about it. One thing is that our mother instilled some strength in us as her children.
Wow.
She always told us, put it out of your chest. So my younger sister could talk about stigma and discrimination She even put people that she know into the group just to share their experiences, to talk it out. She was able even to support friends that she knew, people she've met in social circles, if she had that they had suffered the same. Imagine even when she was on the hospital bed. She could still tweet about it. She could talk to people on Facebook. She could talk to people on WhatsApp. I really saw a beautiful soul.
Let's celebrate her. What's her name?
Her name is Naomi Mutua.
Naomi Mutua. We celebrate you so much. Awesome. As we talk about that daktari cocktail.
I think the thing is to understand about COVID vaccine.
Please explain it to us.
Like Lilian said from the beginning, a vaccine can be the virus, weakened virus, a particle of the virus, or some technology that's producing the
like a mimic.
the antigen into the body.
Okay.
Now, COVID hit us in 2019. That's why it's COVID-19, and we have had so many interventions in the hand washing, social distancing, curfews, limiting movement and all that. But COVID has continued increasing until when got the COVID vaccine. Around November, some countries introduced the vaccine as it is. You take a country like UK, they have vaccinated their people, and they used to have 1,000 deaths in one day. Remember during the waves, they have spent like 5 months with one death.
Wow.
That's one.
Wow.
They're on the records. Go and you can check Israel. You can check the curve that is coming down in some of the states in the US and other places. So all the protocols we're doing are good, but the vaccine has got the potential of preventing severe disease.
Absolutely.
That means whichever vaccine one gets, it will actually reduce them from. It will actually protect them from going to ICU, having those problems with breathing, and eventually even death as it is. So the vaccine is protective. Any of the COVID vaccine that is approved, by the CDC, WHO, the government of the world, those vaccines are effective. So it's not an issue of if you get, it's actually when. Why all of us should be on the queue waiting to get the vaccine. And other countries, some countries have gone down to, like now looking at whether even younger kids can get. Here we are talking about 18 years. In states now they were giving below 16, now they're looking at giving from 12. So we are looking at as many people getting the vaccine as possible. Remember what we said at the beginning, that the value of vaccine is to initially protect you, then protect the community and protect the nation and internationally protect other people. So that's what we should be looking at. We should keep all the protocols, but all of us should be on the lookout to look for vaccine. Actually, the lobbying right now would be get as much money as possible to the vaccine. Now that the politics of the politicians have all agreed that COVID is actually a pandemic worldwide, they should marshal as much money as possible to have everyone who is eligible getting the vaccine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so whether it's cocktail or one vaccine,
it
protects from severe disease.
I love it. Thank you so much. We just needed to get that out of the way. As I continue the questions, and there's something we're coming back to. On text line 22232, we take your questions very seriously. One is asking, hii polio inaweza pewa mtoto wa 5 years if mdogo wake amepatikana na polio?
For the campaign, we are doing 5 years and below. If a child is found to have the polio virus, not only the siblings will be investigated, but the whole household, possibly even the other contacts within their social groups, maybe at workplace and at the household level. So first we call for investigation. If we get one case of confirmed polio, it calls for a campaign. If the children who are getting are children who are below 5 years, we should follow the protocol of the ministry. Yes.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Also on text, questions for you. How many polio vaccines should a child get?
Polio has got several fronts.
Yes.
We have the scheduled vaccine, so everyone should get their scheduled vaccine. And then anytime when you're at risk the government and the UNICEF and the other bodies come in to protect us, so they advise that you get extra doses.
Got it.
I would actually say this: there is no overdose to the polio vaccines as long as we are at risk and as long as they are recommended by the government, by the international agencies.
Lillian, is it okay for the child to get the vaccine if he got it already? All other times there was a campaign?
It is important so long as the child meets the age that is being targeted. And just like I said, currently the vaccine, the oral vaccine we are giving in the clinic is for type 1 and for type 3.
Okay.
So for this one, even if your baby got today, they will still get the one for type 2.
Okay.
Because it's quite different from what they got.
So you've highlighted type 1, type 3, then now type 2 is active.
So for this campaign, we are only doing type 2.
Okay.
Immediately we finish round 1, we will hold back all the type 2 until we wait for round 2.
Okay.
So after the campaign, the type 2 will not be given again.
Wow.
Until round 2.
Okay.
Once we are done with round 2 and we assess and we find that our children are safe, we shall now withhold it and withdraw it.
All right. Absolutely. Dr. Could you just explain type 1, type 2, type 3, just because we're on a health show?
Okay, all diseases appear in variants.
Okay.
I'm sure people are familiar with the Indian variant of the COVID, the South African variant of, you can call it COVID-1, I mean 19-1, 2, 3. So it's just a variant that even though we have, you look at this virus, you look at the DNA or any other way of describing it, then you actually find that this one is different with this one because of this pattern in the genes or in the protein that they form. And therefore, when you give a vaccine against type 1, it may not fully protect against type 2. So sometimes you may have to develop a vaccine specifically for that type 2. And the one that we have locally available, I mean the one that is in the schedule, we have type 1, type 2, type 3, we have the wild type. The wild type was eradicated in 2014 only except in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So we have type 1, type 2, type 3. So what we give is against type 1 and type 2 because type 1 and type 3 because that's what is more available and more prevalent. Now type 2 is what was found in the dub. So that's what we are now protecting against. It's just the variant. It's just the type of the virus, the way it is.
Absolutely.
And all the types, if you get either type 1, 2, or 3, for us to know that you have suffered polio, you'll get the paralysis. So the effect is the same across the 3. One thing that people should understand, if you get the polio virus, you might paralyze your lower limbs, that's the legs, or the hands. But if it gets into the spinal cord, it paralyzes up to the brain. Once the brain is paralyzed, you will not live. You cease to live. So polio can also cause death.
Absolutely. And thank you for highlighting that because, just as we were speaking about a whole family and only one child surviving, that's really sad. So it's very, very important for us to know that we're just not doing this as a fun activity or it's very important for you to get vaccinated because it lives and breathes, within us.
Yes, and just like Dr. had said, I'll also just add my concern again.
Sure.
Apart from when we are doing the campaign, let us do what we call in the medical terms, community surveillance.
Okay.
I know most of the people will only think of paralysis due to stroke, paralysis due to some type of injury or accident. But if you have any paralysis of any limb on your body with no explained illness, no trauma, no accident, kindly report within 24 hours so that you are able to take the sample. Because if you are having the polio virus and the samples are not taken below 48 hours, then even if we take, we shall not find any. So it is good for us to do that. The other way of preventing is to make sure, this is what we call the hygiene part. Dr. earlier said that for you to get the polio virus, you must have taken either a drink or some food that is already contaminated with the virus. And for you to get the virus, someone who is infected passes the virus through the stool. So there's interaction between when you go for the long call, that stool, and either a drink or a foodstuff that goes into your mouth, then introduces the virus into your body. So we must look at washing our hands with soap and running water frequently, and even most importantly, when we leave the toilets. We must make sure that the foods we prepare that can be washed before preparing should be washed. If it is something that cannot be washed, let us cook it properly. Let us ensure that our hands are safe and clean even when we are serving the food. Let us make sure that the surface where we are putting on this food and even the utensils are clean. And whatever food maybe remains or is not being used, let it be covered. So there's the hygienic part of prevention.
Absolutely.
Then there is the immunization part of it. Then there is the community surveillance, where not only for children, but anybody who develops sudden paralysis should give that information to the nearest facility.
Thank you. Thank you for that important information. I think now we're even at that point where you wash your hands before and after you go to the bathroom. Like, it's next level for everyone. As we talk about that, are smaller babies, 8 months, that are getting it during their clinic days also eligible? And this is still on the polio immunization campaign that is launched in 13 counties to tackle the polio outbreak here in Kenya. So it's still on that.
So when we are doing the campaign, we have specific counties and even specific countries globally. Like, if you'll find if Kenya are running a campaign, and like we said, our first case was from across the border, those countries at our border also running the same campaign. So for children who are within the counties that are targeted, children below 5 years will get. So even if that baby is 8 months and they got their doses in the clinic today, they should get the one for the campaign.
Because it's a different one.
It's a different one, and like Dr. rightfully said, there's no overdose.
There's no overdose. I love
the polio vaccine, there's no overdose.
Dr. there are common side effects of immunizations. And what do we do with those adverse effects? The one I've heard about is, I'm taking my child for an immunization shot today, pray for us, because this kid will just be crying the whole night, we are going to go mad. So that's the only one I know. What are some of the effects?
A simple way of looking at side effects is looking at the local one and systemic ones. When you give an injection, say measles, BCG, tetanus, or any of them, there is pain at the site. And then there is a reaction at the site, a swelling, redness, that bit of a pain there. And that goes away within a few days. Then you have the systemic effect. When you give that vaccine, when it gets the body, it has to produce immunity. So that vaccine is taken up by the body and then taken up to the local the lymph nodes where the body is going to produce antibodies and cellular immunity, and then the body responds like you are actually sick. So for babies at 6 weeks, many of them will get fever because the body is trying to respond to produce antibodies against that. And one is to have a bit of fever. So it's a good thing because the body is working and the body is producing some immunity. So there is that fever. There will be, for people who are bigger, they may talk about weakness, fatigue, generalized body pains, joint pains, like what most people got when they got this COVID vaccine. So all those are side effects and they are there. And then there are a few that may be specific. Even when you get the rotavirus vaccine, you may get a bit of loose stool, a bit of nausea, a bit of loss of appetite. If one gets measles, they may get some skin rashes, almost mimicking the vaccine that they got. So some of them will be very specific as per the vaccine, but many of them are general. All these side effects are they are the local one, the systemic one, that are because of how the body is responding. Most of them are when a vaccine is being legalized or being approved or being licensed, the benefit must be bigger than the risk of the side effects. And vaccines they go through very rigorous trials to show that they are actually safe. So all the most of the side effects that are actually known of the vaccines, they will be safe in quotes. They are not lethal. They are not going to kill that person, and therefore they are acceptable, and they will wear away. They will wear off after some days. Very occasionally, you may have a very severe side effect, like what people have had here and there. That warrants early examining of that vaccine. So we can say the vaccines that are in the KEPI program, or the ones that are in the national programs, the side effects are safe, except things like allergic reaction. If one has been known to react to a vaccine, then they should not get the same vaccine again. But this must have been certified by a health worker.
What are some of the reactions? Just thinking through it. And if you just joined us, Karibu Sana, the conversation is on immunization and vaccination in children. And we have very able people with us, of course, Lillian Mutoa. She's the head of promotions at NMS, and pediatrician Dr. John Wachira. Your calls are welcome. You can call us right now if you have any questions, comments, compliments on the conversation. This is your time. We also have a text line, 22232. Thank you for watching Hope TV. So,
by saying allergic reaction, we don't mean what people understand by allergic reaction. Getting some skin rashes is severe to say that you will not get the same vaccine again.
Okay.
The reaction that one would be worried about is life-threatening severe reaction. Where one gets one would get a drug, and then they get body swelling, problem with breathing, tongue swelling. That kind of a thing is what should actually avoid a repeat of the same vaccine.
All right.
But what we are describing are the side effects are not allergic reaction, and people should continue getting the same vaccine.
Lillian, we've talked about this severally, but we cannot emphasize enough. What are the health effects on children without vaccinations?
First of all, this child might suffer a preventable illness or disease. And each of these preventable disease, some of them the case fatality, that is the percentage of death that can occur if you are totally not immunized, is very high. Number two, if a child is not immunized, it means if the causative organism is around in the environment or another child has suffered, the child who is immunized might survive the disease. But the one who is not immunized might get that disease and complicate with very major complications, which is not good. Then if many children are vaccinated or immunized, we have what we call the herd immunity. It means this many children who are fully immunized might get a risk of that infection, but it might not take them down because their immunity is already built. When we look at the resources at the household, if today your baby gets the polio, this child maybe was already going to school or had just started their cradle classes. It means the baby has to learn new ways of walking or new ways of using the other hand that was not the one that they were using. So it's back to square one. I think that Tari will concur with me. We have seen families break because of children who have suffered diseases that can be prevented. You find that if a child suffers polio, one of the parents might give up and go away, because it comes with a lot of strain, financial strain, psychological impact. We have had, we have polio champions across the county. I remember our polio champion for Nairobi, the current one, him telling us that he does not know the face of the father.
Oh, no.
And as he grew up, he would be challenged by other children that he doesn't have a dad. And when he was growing up, he got into conversations with the mom. And the mom said that when he got the disability, because he wasn't born with a disability, his father fled. So you can see what it can happen into the family setups. This guy also had to take a longer period before joining school because the school was far, and he needed to know how to work with assistive devices. So there's a lot of challenge financially, psychologically. Some of the illnesses will also come with impact of stigma and discrimination.
Yeah.
You can imagine your baby was well, maybe they are running around, they are learning how to talk, they can obey commands, they can communicate with you. Then they get measles, they might lose their eyesight, they might lose their hearing ability. So it's not very good for us not to take part in making sure that our children are immunized. And that is why we say even during such campaigns, call your friends who have children who are below 5, call your family. Ensure that if your neighbor next door has a child who is less than 5, just strike a conversation. If we are in a WhatsApp group, let's talk about it. Let's take immunization seriously. It's going to salvage some of the preventable diseases that might come into this country.
Absolutely.
Then when we are tying it to COVID-19, we remember that because of COVID-19, the immunization coverage throughout the country went down because everybody was hesitant to go to the health facility.
Yes.
So you find like in Nairobi, our immunization coverage was doing past 90. We dropped to less than 80. Wow. We even went down in some sub-counties to as low as 40%. So when this happens, there's potential of children getting infected by the disease that we can prevent.
Absolutely. Wow, that's so interesting. We're actually getting to children and COVID-19 vaccination. But right before that, safety of vaccines.
Okay, one is that the vaccines are very strictly controlled. Before any company can produce a vaccine, the whole process is mapped out. They have to do the trials in the lab or in animals before they can test on one individual, a few individuals, and then after that they check on a smaller group of people to test safe before they can roll it out to a bigger group of people to test how it would respond to people with different comorbidities. That's what we call clinical trials. You have got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So phase 3 is where you have now people of all different ages and all that. So it has been properly tested before it can now be given to the public. So that is one of the things. The science behind it is solid. The second thing is that once the vaccine is given out, it is the government take up upon themselves to do surveillance and check who has a side effect. And anybody who gets a side effect then reports to the government, to the Ministry of Health. We have a division of vaccination. So you do that, and then as you go on, if there is any concerns at all, then you have got the World Health Organization, CDC, the UNICEF, all those groups come together and that actually see. Sorry. Yeah, so they actually act on it, and if you have followed the COVID vaccination development, there was something called pause. I won't mention which vaccine had a pause, but one of the vaccines actually had a pause because there were concerns about some issues about safety on it. So all the vaccines running in our expanded program of immunization, the KEPI, they are all safe, and they have been, they have gone beyond many years of use, and they have actually shown demonstrated that they are actually safe. Absolutely. So in terms of safety, the science is safe, and there is ongoing surveillance, as time goes on to make sure that they remain safe.
That makes me even feel comfortable. Rumor. Let's dispel this rumor. I just have to talk about it. They're trying to decrease the population of the nation. So they're going to give us this vaccine so that we don't make children, we don't make this number of children, we make this. Let's dispel that myth right now before we continue.
Normally we have a lot of rumors. We have myths, we have misconceptions, and we have misinformation.
True.
If you're listening to any communication and you're not attentive, you might miss a small fraction of it that disfigures the whole communication that was going on.
That's true.
So we need to listen attentively, and what we do not understand, there is a right of the listener or the citizen to ask further. If we say that we are having the polio campaign from the 22nd to the 26th of May, 2021, and we are reaching children who are 5 years and below, and you think you need all your children, including those who are above 5, to get the vaccine, kindly ask, why are we only targeting the under 5? I know there's a lot of issues that are discussed on social media. and others with ill motive, others because people want to test the waters, gauge what information people have, and also get feedback so that a conversation can start. Some of them are not healthy. So just like in our normal social WhatsApp groups, let us look at what conversations are going on, and if it is matters of health, reach the MOH website, or even talk to your own family doctor to get advised further.
Okay.
So let us not take everything that comes around as the truth
Gospel
of the matter.
truth, yes.
Let us consult and let us get the right information so that we can get informed decisions.
Give us pages we can follow, places we can look at for like, information that's coming from you.
So we've said for health matters, normally we fall back to Ministry of Health.
Yes.
If you go to the Ministry of Health website, you shall find even for the COVID guidelines, you'll find them there. If it is now that we are doing the polio campaign, you'll find the fact sheets there. You can also look at different hospitals, post different information.
Yes.
And also go to credible medical practitioners. They're able to give you the quality information and give you guidance.
Absolutely. I just want to echo what Lillian Mutua, who's the head of health promotion at NMS, said. You are also a voice and you can kickstart conversations. Like right now when you're talking about that, I realize I have a godson who is under 5. Have I had the conversation with the mommy and the daddy to say, our children, since I'm now a parent, our children need to get this vaccine. Imefika huko sio kibao, wako huko, and we need to pick it up. So you also have a role to play. Nieces, nephews, students, even in class as teachers, neighbors. Let's kickstart this conversation. Relatives, WhatsApp groups. You can do something productive. As we go to that, children and the COVID-19 vaccination. What's going on with that?
Okay. Thank you for that. So COVID vaccine is a very new vaccine. I mean, it has been rolled up this year, and the target is initially, it's being given under EUA, emergency use authorization.
Okay.
That means the government takes responsibility of the people who are going to receive it. So the government actually categorizes and say, in Kenya, we start off with the frontline health workers, then we go on to people with comorbidities, people at risk. That's how it goes, depending on how much is available and what capacity we have for giving the vaccine.
All right.
Now, so at the moment, the vaccines that are eligible for below 18 years are not necessarily not right now in the country. In the next batch that's coming in, we may have them, but all in all, the government will give guidelines on which group of children should be able to get it. But having said that, COVID vaccine protects the person who has been given and the neighbors. So once you have got like some degree of herd immunity, if you're protected and you can't get the COVID, means even your child will not get the COVID disease.
True.
It means your neighbor's child cannot get the COVID vaccine. That's why teachers are actually getting the vaccine so that they can protect the children in the school. That's why the university lecturers, whoever is handling a group of children should be the first one to get the vaccine. That way they are protected and they protect the children that they
That's why the doctors and the nurses.
Yeah. Or the health workers should be getting that. So that's how it is. But as we go on, the science behind it is that we should have nearly everyone protected against the COVID vaccine. We are down to around 12 years. We are hoping it will go down to 0. If that's how it will be. But for now, we follow up the public health guidelines that are coming up, and then we get people vaccinated as per the categorization, including the children. But children are protected by everyone else who gets the vaccine.
Okay, Lillian, I haven't gotten the vaccine. I thought since I had COVID and I'd even nishagawanisha mali yangu, then I was like, oh Lord, you still have a purpose for me. So now I'm ready for the vaccine, and I think I'm an essential worker. So sister, can I call you when it's ikiongezeka?
What we say is depending on even the risk at workplace, at social places, then you should see that you get the vaccine.
Okay.
I know there are some of the very vibrant media houses who requested, and looking at the turn-up of people they meet, especially the media reporters and the cameramen who go to the ground.
That's true.
Because like right now, I have some media people, different media houses, who want to go to the field to do some coverage on polio. They also did this for COVID. And let me say it is sad. Yesterday, I took some round tours within the city and the environment. When you look at the percentage of regress in the COVID prevention measures, it is alarming.
It's so sad.
It's sickening. It's very sad.
On Instagram, like I saw guys like at a party, like a whole group of people, and they're not relatives. And I'm like, first of all, even though you're relatives, like seriously, guys, COVID-19 is still right here. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yes, and let us not get ourselves into some misconception that because today they said maybe they only tested 97 people who are positive with COVID-19, and when we look like last month, maybe we were doing at 400, we think it's no longer there. The community transmission is there. The only thing that we have changed is the guideline. Who do we test for COVID-19? The person who has the signs and symptoms. Majority of us in the community are asymptomatic.
Wow.
So you never know whether you're picking from the next person who is sitting near you or someone you're partying with. But if COVID-19 gets to you, it might not be asymptomatic.
True.
You might end up in a critical space.
That's so true.
So let us take care of each other. And like the two of us have just said, keep yourself safe so that you can also guard the person next to you.
Absolutely.
So for COVID-19, kindly obey the protocols.
Tafadhali, COVID-19 is still there. And if you see someone who's not obeying the protocol, tell them. Like guys are trying to get into a lift more than 5. I'm like, out. to get it, like, and of course people will be like, wait, I'm like, we are still in this thing. So we're not, it's simple things like those. Matatus. Oh, the matatu is full. And then you're still boarding. Can you not board? Just say, I'm not boarding. Yeah. There are many cases and instances.
By the way, in matatus, I've been made to alight thrice.
Wow.
Because I refused to move for a passenger to sit in the place that should not be occupied. So when I made noise, thrice I've been told to come out.
Madam Shuka.
And I have.
They should know people. Would have what? Okay, sir. Let's not do that. Let's not go there.
It's for my safety.
It's for your safety, but they should know that they're doing a wrong thing.
And you're telling someone to put on the mask, they are not listening. Then they ask you, kwani wewe umevaa wewe ni mgonjwa? So what if I was telling you because I'm asymptomatic and I've just received my results? What could that mean?
Oh my.
Let's all protect ourselves and protect each other.
Let's do that. Let's absolutely do that. Who is a fully immunized child? Is that like a trophy, a certificate, something we get?
Okay. You see, fully immunized keeps on changing depending on the age and the vaccines that are covered. If you asked that question in 2000, it would be anyone who got their vaccines up to 9 months.
Okay.
And hepatitis B may not have been necessarily have been in the kit. As you go on, I meant 1992. Now, so we have had vaccines being added on the schedule.
Yeah. So
somebody who is fully vaccinated is the one who has completed the schedule as per stated in the government schedule, and if like now the ongoing campaigns, they have received the one for that campaign.
All right.
Yeah. So it's somebody who has not missed a vaccine that they should have received. Yeah.
Are there some do's and don'ts for children during vaccination? Are there anything you could highlight? Anakuja bila uniform. Anakuja kunok kwangu.
What I'd say, like for the campaigns, we have right now for polio, the yellow bib, and people are having an identification tag. In places where we walk, we also align with the administration, that is through the NGAOs and also the devolved government, for it to be known that the teams are on the ground. Normally, our team are paired, a vaccinator and a guide.
Yeah.
So even if, because at times, because of the risks in the community or the population that people are targeting, you might find 2 or more teams. But usually our teams are paired and they have a supervisor. If you think you are not very sure of the people who are coming around your house, you have the right to call any administration office. You have a right to call your security, maybe guard or company, just to make them sure that there are these people who are around your place and they should identify themselves. Like for Nairobi County, the vaccinator, most of them are our own NMS health workers. So if you really need more identification, other than the identification tag, you can always get the county identification.
Okay.
We also have the community volunteers who work with the teams as guides, because this is their community. They also have their own branding. So you cannot see anybody in any color of bib and just appreciate them. We've also found some of our identification bibs and aprons being misused. You might find someone in a bib like this in a market or in a place that you didn't expect. So normally we call in the authorities to investigate further to know how they got that, because they are representing Ministry of Health in a bad light.
Okay.
Before the campaigns are done, we have people who we call the social mobilizers and the community health volunteers and the health promotion team that does the demand creation, that does the awareness, that pronounces to the people what's going to happen in the next few days or weeks. So all these are our teams. We have people working with megaphones, especially for the high-rise settlements, where they also announce about the oncoming or forthcoming campaign. Okay. Then we also have the public address systems. These normally address people at heavily populated areas like the markets, the bus terminuses, the workplaces when people are at their lunch break. So we use different strategies. In Nairobi, we are also doing letters to schools, letters to the churches for announcements. We also have residential emails, residential groups WhatsApp, where we post these messages.
All right.
So it's a mixed strategy.
I absolutely love that. Dr. Ariwan is asking, are there vaccines in children that are optional because they find some vaccines in private hospitals and not in public hospitals?
The vaccines that are mandatory are the ones that are provided free at the point of delivery. Okay. That means the government says we have these vaccines now in our kit, then they become mandatory. That means everyone should be able to get them. Any vaccine that's beyond that, then unless, nobody is going to pay for you. So because the cost implication, then they become optional. But having said that, there are vaccines that are important. Like we talked about the meningitis one, talked about the HPV one. We talked about the vaccines that were not previously in the kit, but in the schedule, but that have been added. So that's it. And then in terms of option, you have, vaccines like yellow fever. They are usually for people who are traveling to places where they might be at risk. Vaccines like the corona one, they are normally given to areas that are endemic or places where there are outbreaks. So some vaccines are specific, like the one for dengue fever. You have got vaccines that are specific for outbreaks or areas that are known to have that disease. Yeah.
On our text line 22232, thank you for your questions. One is asking, what is the government doing to help demystify all the myths in our society around vaccination in children? Well, clearly this is one of the platforms, but what else are you doing to demystify the myths?
Normally, we have a platform where we collect routinely on daily basis any information that is either a rumor, a myth, a misinformation, or a misconception. And this is done by Ministry of Health through the Department of Health Promotion where I'm serving. And normally, if we get that feedback, we are able to create messages to inform further or to put the right message into context. So it's there, it's done. And the Health Promotion Department takes charge of messaging and communication, and also heads the public health literacy. So in matters health, our biggest role, even like right now we are doing the polio campaign, but continuously not only to the health directorate in NMS, but this message also goes further to Ministry of Health and even to the partners who help us implement some of these programs. So it's vibrant, it is done, not only during the campaigns. At times we look at ads that are informing people.
Yes.
Like we could see an ad or a billboard that is giving a message that might trigger some consequences in the health of maybe or nutrition of children. That one, we talk to the person, if it's a company or the agency, and this has to be brought down. Because we will not give wrong information and wait for an aftermath which will lead to a health impact.
Absolutely.
What we always know is that even issues of like road traffic accidents, we will always team up with the stakeholders in such places and come up with messages for the road users. Because anything that happens, the buck stops with health.
Absolutely.
And Daktari will accept this. Because if a fire raises down a building, someone gets choked by the smoke or gets burnt, the end result is to go to hospital. If someone drowns, they will go to maybe if they've died, they will still need to go to a morgue. That is still part of health. If we have a flood and people are not able to get shelter, maybe they'll get other infections like the upper respiratory infections, or they will even go without food. The buck stops with health. So let us not look at health as that Ministry of Health. Everything touches on health.
That is so true. And health is your greatest wealth. As we talk about that, you can't make any wealth when you're really unwell and sick.
And if you don't take care of your health today, you'll have a cost for it in the future.
Wow.
Invest in your health, invest in a healthy lifestyle.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. And that's why we are saying start with your child and with yourself as well. Thank you for highlighting that. I'm coming back to you just to respond on what the government is doing to ensure equitable access and appropriate vaccination services to all children. You have mentioned something within that line, but you can add on it. Daktari, vaccines for preterm babies. We're wrapping up this conversation. I have time for 2 more questions. 22232 is how you can send them in, or you can call us live in studio. So, vaccines for preterm babies.
Thank you for that. Yeah, most preterm babies can be anything born from below 1 grams to babies who are even born close to 2 kilos. The general guide is that no child should leave the hospital without a vaccination.
All right.
So they all get their vaccines before they leave the hospital.
All right. Okay. So government doing to ensure equitable access to appropriate vaccination services to all children.
Yes. So looking at the approach, even right now, there are negotiations at government level, both at Ministry of Health, also at the COG level, at county level, as far as community level. We have to invest in vaccines so that we make sure that our children are safe. It's not only for the government, but also for us to see that this is done, and it is done appropriately. So you'll find, like what Daktari is saying, we have the faith-based, we have the private hospitals. They have to invest in vaccination and in the immunization program. We have the different private practitioners who go further and give what is not within the schedule at a cost. When we are looking at different counties, Nairobi being one, there's been ongoing conversations on how, in case the donors that we are saying, or the implementing partners, are not able to get the vaccines for us in a timely manner, in an efficient manner, because we have seen that, like Daktari will agree with me, once you say that you are a mid-income country, then you are looked at from a different perspective. So already we are having negotiation and seeing how much monies can the government put into the immunization program. For each health facility, and even the private practitioners, we must know what are the consumptions of each vaccine in each given year. What is our growth rate? Then we are able to say, out of this population, this is the percentage of children under 1 year, under 2 years, under 5 years. Looking at what vaccines are being consumed, each month, each quarter, each year, we are able to forecast for the vaccines for our children that are to be born.
Absolutely. That's powerful. And I love how it works. Like, it works. It just works. I love it. Daktari, vaccination for children with immune-compromising diseases.
Okay. Usually, there are very few conditions that would prevent a child from getting a vaccine.
Yes.
That means nearly all children born in Kenya should get the vaccines that are available in Kenya. In the event that a child has got a severe immune compromise, say like HIV/AIDS, very early in life, then there is actually provision for that. Children who have got maybe HIV/AIDS, then they are given their vaccine early instead of waiting for 9 months. They actually give it. There are special cases when there's the 6 months schedule for that. If you have a child who has got diagnosed severe immunocompromise, then there is they should miss out the live attenuated vaccines, the vaccines that if you are given, then the virus or the bacteria would grow in you. But suffice it to say that currently most of the vaccines are not live attenuated, and they are just particles of protein, so they cannot actually cause a disease, and therefore they are safe to use even in people who are immunocompromised, and many times they are the ones who need them because they are at higher risk of getting the disease.
Absolutely. A great conversation on immunization and vaccination in children, and this is the time. If you see any of these conversations happening, participate, be active. I want to give our guests just a minute to advise parents who choose not to take their children for vaccination. But for you, your task is simple. Wherever it is you're watching us from, share this video. Even if you're watching us from your television, you can go to Facebook, Hope TV Kenya, and share this video. Also on YouTube, at Hope TV Kenya, share this video. I'm also going to be sharing it at Kerry Kagiri, so you can go take it there and share it. Let as many people get this information as possible if you care for them. This is one of the ways you can do it. So let's advise parents who choose not to take their children for immunization. And with your closing remarks, I'll start with ladies first. Lilian Butoa.
I'd like to request all parents, caregivers, or guardians with children under 5 for the polio campaign, ensure that each child is reached with this vaccine. That it may not be your own child, maybe your own child has gotten. Let us also rally a call among our family who have children who are less than 5 years, our neighbors, our friends, those who are parents at workplaces. Let us strike this conversation. I'd also like to say that we are giving the first dose now of this round. Then we shall have a follow-up dose, which should be in June. The days will be said. Normally we give 4 weeks apart. We also have mapped some children in different places who have had measles. We shall have a measles campaign still in June. And just to remind people that those who got the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine shall be getting their second. Let us allay the anxiety and follow what the government is saying. And when the time comes for phase 2, kindly for those who are eligible, let them get. My parting shot will be, can we get all our Kenyan children immunized or vaccinated at the right time, according to the schedule, from day 0, and especially for the birth doses for the BCG and for the birth polio. Let's ensure even those who are not born in hospital get their vaccination before the second week is over.
Absolutely.
So let us all have a consulted effort so that we can keep all the children in Kenya safe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is so well said. I feel like we just cut that part and post it. Dr. What is your advice and your parting shot?
I think mine is very simple. All children born wherever in the world deserve good care, good protection, and good love.
Absolutely.
And part of it includes from birth, they should not only be breastfed, but they should be given the vaccines from birth and follow up the full schedule that, as per the way it is stated in the health facility where you are following up. And then take your child to The vaccine center every month up to the age of 5 years.
Absolutely. Where can we find you? People are giving birth sana in this season.
Pardon?
Where can we find you? People
Okay. I'm stationed at MP Shah Hospital. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And for Lillian, you advise us to follow the Ministry of Health pages and the
Yes.
NMS
Yes.
pages as well.
Yes. And just to say that last year, we've also officiated our Emergency Operations Center,
Wow.
where we are dealing with emergencies within Nairobi. We are offering any health emergency information, or if you need assistance. We are also providing the ambulances. And for the COVID pandemic, we are also responding to COVID-19. That is within the metropolitan services. For those who are not able to contain themselves in the home-based care for COVID-19, those who have COVID-19 tested positive, but without signs, we are able to house them in Kibera DO. That is one of our health facilities where we give you accommodation. We also keep you busy with some exercises. We give health talks, and you're able to enjoy our meals for the 10 days, then we can discharge you.
Wow.
We also have the response teams within each sub-county. So go to our website in NMS. I shall also share with you our e-poster so that you put it on your TV page and also your Facebook page, so that even if you're on the road somewhere and you find some fatality, maybe an accident, maybe a mother who is in labor and needs to be rushed to our facility, call our EOC number. We will be able to respond.
Awesome.
Even if it's a flood, even if it's a fire, even if it is not only us who are going to come, we will mobilize the other sectors or the other multi-agencies and we'll come on site.
Thank you. So the number, we'll get it on the page?
Yes.
Okay, is it a simple number? Is it like a 999 or something?
It's a long number,
okay,
but I will share it.
Thank you. Okay, so let's wait on that and make sure to follow us. That's the only way you're going to get it, as you also follow the Ministry of Health and NMS. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much, Lillian Mutua. Thank you. I really appreciate you. And Dr. John Wachira. Coming up, News Watch. You also have Chiriku and great program lined up for you right here on Hope TV, where you look and live. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Team Worship Wednesday. Have a lovely evening. Bye.